Okay, class. This is for Monday, October 19th. I was originally going to record this as I taught a class, but I think Monday is going to be a little chaotic, and I just want to make sure I don't miss any of the things I want to make sure my students at home need to hear, need to learn about. So I will be teaching them the exact same thing, but and then starting Tuesday, you'll be hearing a recording of one of those classes. But we'll just be doing screen sharing like this. So you'll see whatever is on my screen. So you'll get all the same material. But, there's some legal issues with maybe showing the pictures of some of the students, so that's why we won't be doing, like a Google Meet or a Zoom recording. So I want to talk first about some expectations. So for my students who are going to be physically in the building, and most of you probably aren't in this category, but just in case maybe today you just happen to be sick, there's going to be an expectation that you're in class with your laptop and ready to work. Now, if you want to work with paper and pencil, for example, to take notes, you can, but you and I will not be exchanging any papers. I'm not going to hand you any, and you're not going to hand back any to me. Now, anything you're keeping on your own, such as notes, I don't really care if you do it on the laptop, or if your laptop needs a charge that day, you can put it in my charger and take the notes by hand, because those notes are for you. But everything's going to be based on the Google Classroom. Remember, it's not unusual at all, and it's happened in other school districts, where some students who want to be in person have to be quarantined because maybe they've had exposure, so then they have to go back to that. So we're going to keep everything on Google Classroom. So when you're in class and I say, here's a worksheet, I'm going to say, go to your Google Classroom page. That's where it's going to be. So for my students who are online, same deal. The big thing I want to focus on, though, is that we know for a fact that many of our students are not watching the videos that are posted daily. I know it because I see some of the answers on some of the tests, and what people are trying to do is just Google some of the answers. And, if you don't know exactly what you're Googling, sometimes the answers you guys are writing down, let's just say it's pretty obvious you're Googling them and didn't have an understanding of it. So, listen, this is what my job is, our job is. It's to help you understand some of this material. But if you're not tuning into the videos, and you're choosing the online option, then you're really setting yourself up for some trouble. So take advantage of the fact that, I'm taking the time to make sure that you have the materials, because I respect your decision in either direction about what to do. But you have to respect your own grade and do the work that needs to be done to make sure you watch the videos and make sure you do the work diligently. So every day, if you're an online person, my expectation for you is that every day you're going to watch the posted videos. And moving forward, they're going to be of a live class. I'll wait till I take attendance and then record as I teach, and then I might stop the video if it's just then time to work on documents. But that's what the recording will be. So we're going to start off today with a test review. And, I have a lot of different versions of the test, so I don't care if you see some of the questions I'm going to review. But these tests, to be frank, are not good. Now, honors did well, and I don't mind that score dropped because it's still above a B average. But 7th period had a big drop, 4th period had a huge drop, and 3rd period went up, but they're still averaging a D minus. So again, I'm not sharing any individual scores. We're looking at trends as a class, okay? That's very important. I would never, say what you specifically had, but these are not good scores. These, I write this on all these test results. This is the bar, this is the standard. I don't do tissues for bonus. I don't do any last minute, bonus. There's some empathy. There's going to be a makeup document of the week. But, you've got to earn the grade that you're going to get in here. And right now, many of you are not doing as well as I know you are capable of doing. So 1st period, for example, you guys averaged just 60%, and you have 12 missing. 12 missing in a class of 17 is crazy. I mean, that is really, really just a crazy amount of missing tests. And that's because it's 1st period and a lot of people slept in. That's not acceptable. This is still school. So now you have to schedule a makeup test. 3rd period, much better. Unfortunately, it's the same couple people in particular missing a lot of these things, but most of you know what you're doing here, and the scores reflect that. 4th period, 9 missing. Now the class is a little bigger, but it's not big enough to be missing 9, and you're averaging an F on this test. Again, you can look at the slashes for each number of grades. So first period, 1 C, 2 Ds, 2 Fs, 12 missing. Fourth period, 1 B, 2 Cs, 1 D, 8 Fs, 9 missing. Seventh period, 10 missing, 3 As, 2 Bs, 2 Cs, 1 D, 5 Fs. So not good enough, and it was very clear. And again, it sounds mean when I say not good enough. This is not as if you were doing your best. I know that. I read some of the responses. And what I could tell is that you looked it up then. If you watch the videos, I promise I share this information with you. And it was very obvious you were not doing the worksheets that helped review it and things along the way. So I want to look at some examples. And writing is where you struggled the most. So who were the people against the passage of the Constitution, and give at least one reason they were against it? So I'll share this version. That's fine. I just won't use it again. It's in the notes. They're called the Anti-Federalists. Now, what you guys did was you Googled, and you came up with all of these different individual Anti-Federalists, like Patrick Henry. And I know you'll say, well, those are people who are against it. Well, it's pretty obvious you also Googled it and didn't take any of the notes. So the people in general, we're looking at for that group, they're the Anti-Federalists. The biggest, easiest reason to write down here would be that they didn't list your actual rights. John's home has been searched without his permission while he was at work. Which amendment has been violated and how? The Fourth Amendment has been violated because they didn't say anything here about a search warrant, and they certainly didn't have his permission. You can actually search someone's home when they're not home if there's a search warrant made with probable cause, but I didn't mention anything about that here. You guys did better on that one. But again, I think that one you were able to Google and kind of come up with the, close to the right answer. Here's the one, though, that absolutely showed there was just some students who did not pay attention to the lecture or the review game or the worksheets, because this was on 3 different things. 2 live meetings and a worksheet. Explain why the 19th and 26th Amendments were enacted. I didn't ask what the 19th and 26th Amendments did. I just assumed you know that because I assumed you took notes on the amendments. So the 19th gave women the right to vote, and the 26th gave 18 to 20-year-olds the right to vote. That's nowhere in the question. It says, why were they enacted? Well, the 19th Amendment, so you got 2 points for this, were enacted because women were working in factories in World War I and showed their value. The 26th, and by the way, they had value before that, but it convinced men at that time to go, oh, we should give them the right to vote. The 26th Amendment was enacted because 18-year-olds were looking around as they're getting drafted in the war in Vietnam and making the argument, I can go serve my country and potentially die for my country but not vote for the leaders of that country? And that convinced many Americans, oh yeah, that they should have the right to vote. And then how did each affect our society? Well, the 19th Amendment literally doubled the number of voters. The 26th Amendment gave a slight increase in the number of voters. That age group isn't great about voting. I did accept things, though, like, a younger perspective is now held. But for those of you who just wrote, 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote and it made it so more women voted, that's not an acceptable answer. And again, that's the sort of thing we discuss in class. I want you to have more depth. I want you to have that knowledge so that you know what you're doing and you can answer a question at a higher level than just, can I look up what the 19th Amendment is? So that's the test. Now, some of you need to make up this test, and if you do, you need to contact me, and I'll make sure that you get a different form. And it might be harder, it might be easier. That was a pretty easy test form, the one that I gave out for everybody the first day they did it. So I'll be honest, it's probably going to be a little bit tougher. So you might want to go through the videos that you were supposed to watch the first time and take those notes. And moving forward, you're going to want to take some notes. Now, on the positive side, let's say you've just turned a new leaf and you really want to improve your grade. You know you weren't prepared for this, but moving forward, you want to. Hey, listen, that sounds good to me. Let's move on the forward side. Your document of the week. This is where I'm going to have a little bit of flexibility. I'm going to tell you that this week and next week's document of the week is a makeup. So if you are the person who has done all of these documents of the week on time, every day or every week this year, you're all set. You get a break. You deserve that. You are doing a great job. But if you are missing any documents of the week, you don't get to make them all up. There has to be some consequence. But you can end up making up to 2 up, 1 this week and 1 next week. Now, if you aren't missing any, but you had a really bad grade on one or a really bad grade on two, you may make that up as well. So what's going to happen is if student A turns in a makeup document of the week and that person, let's say he isn't missing any, then I'm going to go through and just take out his lowest score and replace it. Now, if he's got all 10s, I can't do anything with it. He's just stuck. That was crazy. He didn't need to do it. Now, if student B is missing 2, then they're going to be able to make up one this week and one next week, and then there won't be any zeros under documents of the week. Now, if student C is missing 6 documents of the week, their grade's going to hurt. I'm not going to lie, but I will let them make up 2 of them, one this week and one next week. So, what is this week's document of the week? Well, it appeared in the Google Stream. It is a newspaper document of the week. So let's remind ourselves, whoops, let me go to the right thing. Oh no, wrong paper. Hold on. There we go. This is an example of one that I wrote up real quick. And I wanted to show you some of the things that make it easier for me to grade and for you to write. Okay, so this is how you do a news document of the week. I literally did this in 10 minutes yesterday. Okay, so when you have a news document of the week, you get to pick the subject. You do. But it must be news, no sports, no entertainment, nothing like that. And it has to be from a real news source. ABC, CBS, Fox, CNN. It can't be Twitter. It can't be. I just saw some famous person allegedly died on Twitter, and again, it was fake news, true fake news. It can't be Facebook. It has to be a true news source. Okay, I don't care if it leans a little Democrat or leans a little Republican. I just want, a regular news source. It could be the Sandusky Register. It could be the Cleveland Plain Dealer. A newspaper. It can be CNN. It can be Fox. Just a real news agency. So for this particular one, I chose National Public Radio. They have a great website for news stories. And here's the first thing I did. So some of you are struggling with how to do these documents of the week. I put my name up here. Now, I prefer it in the right-hand corner, but a lot of you seem to like to put it in the left. That's fine. I can live with that. I've got my name at the top. That literally is worth 2 points, just putting your name there. I then created a hyperlink for my story. Well, hyperlink just means that I can hit this and go right to that story and read it if you haven't read it before. Now, I read a lot of news stories, but if you have one that I'm like, oh, that's interesting, I want to be able to click on it and make sure it's in your words, that you didn't just copy the words, and read the story. So you do that by just going to that particular site and right-clicking, and it highlights everything, and then you copy it, and you just paste it right underneath here. Okay. The next thing you do is you write a summary. Now, this has to be in your own words. I didn't use the words from their story. I put it in my own words. And it's about how Dr. Fauci is saying that infections are supposed to go up as the weather gets colder, and he's saying that a lot of people should rethink Thanksgiving and that a lot of families shouldn't do this. So in the summary, I just put it in my own words. Now, I don't know how many sentences I used here, 4 or 5. For non-honors, you only need to use, it only has to be 3 sentences. But it has to be grammatically correct. They have to be real sentences, a subject, a noun, and a verb. You have to capitalize things like I and the first letter and any proper nouns. And there's a hint here. When you're writing this, let's say you're doing this in Google, it will underline things for you. And you go, when it underlines something, you go, oh, I wonder what's going on here. Oh, here, I should make it nose. It does that for you. And I'll be honest, when I was typing it, I made some typos. That's no big deal. Fix them and you won't miss the points. If you leave them, then you end up missing 1 point for every 2 mistakes. Okay, so I did a summary in my own words. Then you leave a space. That way I don't get confused. Boy, is this part of their summary or their opinion? And you literally write opinion. And then it's just what you think about it. You can't be wrong unless you make a threat, use profanity, or misspell things. Like your opinion itself is not going to be wrong. So on this, I wrote, this is tough for me, the idea of not having Thanksgiving, because I have a really big family, and we usually host about 40 people at our small house. But I've got a lot of older people, including my parents and my family, and I'm worried about them. So I think this year we're just going to have to scale way down. I think I'm just going to have my parents and my own children. And so it's going to be like, 8 people, maybe 7 instead of normally 40. But that's just my opinion. You could have the opinion of, well, I'm doing this no matter what. Okay. Or I'm not even going to have my parents. Okay. Weird at your age, but whatever. And then you do your challenge. Now, the challenge for a news story is always, is it reliable, why or why not? Now, if this was a document I gave you, like, oh, here's the amendments, that's always going to be as a primary, secondary, and why. Okay, and I also put that in the assignment. So here's me answering this question, is it reliable? This story is reliable. National Public Radio, that was my source, that's like CNN or ABC or Fox, just reported what Dr. Fauci, an expert in communicable diseases, said. He's not just some guy off the street, and NPR didn't say he's crazy or he's brilliant. They just said, here's what this expert said. So it's pretty reliable, okay? That's all there is to it. It took me 5 minutes to read the story and 10 minutes to type this up. And you have a week to do them, but don't take all week. Just get it done early, get it turned in Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and that way you don't have to be that person that turns it in late on Friday. Because Google Classroom tells me, oh, this got turned in at such and such time, and if it is after the start of your class, I don't grade it. I mean, I just put a 0 in. I don't read it at all. You have a week to get it done. Don't take the whole week. Get it done now, okay? I'm trying. I want you to pass as much as anybody does, but I cannot just hand out grades or they don't mean anything to the people that earned them, okay? All right. So the last thing for today, and we're going to spend, a little bit more time on this if we were in a live session, is that we're going to start a new unit. And I'm not going to go through all these words with you because I'm not teaching them right now. I'm simply putting up these words, and I want you to write them in the beginning of this unit's notes. I want you to write all of these words and have them in your notes and ask yourself, do I know what these mean? Now, here's the good news. It doesn't really matter if you know what these words mean today, because the test is going to be like 3 weeks from now, give or take. I'll give you a warning. What matters is, do you know these words in 3 or 4 weeks when we have the test? So the whole purpose of this is for you to write these down and go, oh, I think I know what that is. And you can write it down if you do. Some of you probably know what Jim Crow laws are or what a monopoly is. But a lot of you probably don't know what an oligopoly is. Write it down if you think you know. If you don't, that's fine. But it's a great study guide because at the end of the unit, that's when I care if you know it. And this is a great first step to take and say, okay, I didn't know those words the first day. That's okay. That's what they pay Mr. Penrose for. At the end of the unit, did I know those words? And you can, if you do, great. And if you don't, you better look them up because they're probably going to be on the test in some way. So if you need to pause me here because I'm about to show a couple more words. That's the great thing about having it on video. Oh, there we go. Did they all quite fit? Urbanization? Yes, they just all barely fit. Very good. So these words we're going to go over in class, and we're going to see if your peers know them, and some may and some may not. But again, I'm going to have you listening to a recorded live class starting on Tuesday. But for today, I just really wanted to make sure I covered all of this. And there's going to be a lot going on. I just wanted to make sure we did this right because I care about my students both in the room and out of the room. But we need you guys to step it up a little bit and get those grades up. Right now, there are way too many of you who are in danger of not being able to pass the class, and that's not what anybody wants, okay? So get that document of the week done, get these words written down, and tomorrow we're going to take notes and get going on a new unit and have a fresh start. If you miss the test, you've got to set up a makeup test with me, and you're going to get a different form, and hopefully you're prepared for that, okay? Everybody have a great day, and a new video will post between 3 and 4 p.m. on Tuesday.